It is the most powerful technology that the world has seen, I believe, since the invention of agriculture.
Hi, this is Crypto News. So why am I doing this video? Well, I feel quite clearly there's something very, very big happening, almost like a revolution, you know, from one system to this new system that's being created. But you have to take the time to find out, do the research, because you don't want to miss out on this. Just before I show you some clips, there's this article on Zero Hedge entitled IMF Head Foresees the End of Banking as Bitcoin Surges Above $4,400. I mean, it's a very serious title. I just want to read you a couple of little bits. In a remarkably frank talk at a Bank of England conference, the managing director of the IMF has speculated that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has as much of a future as the internet itself. And further down it says, in the long run, the technology itself can replace national monies, conventional financial intermediation, and even puts into question a question mark on the fractional banking model we know today. If that is not a serious statement, I don't know. So let's see what other big players are saying about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency world.
The need to move money from place to place, the cost of doing so, the overhead, as you put it, makes me think, believe it or not, of Bitcoin, because some people have said, hey, Bitcoin is the answer to those problems. Are you a believer?
Well, Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place, and of course for large transactions currency can get pretty inconvenient. The customers we're talking about aren't trying to be anonymous. You know, they're willing to be known. So the Bitcoin technology is key, and you could add to it, or you could build a similar technology where there's enough attribution that people feel comfortable. This has nothing to do with terrorism or any type of money laundering. Bitcoin is something that you've been interested in and supportive of. In fact, one can pay for a tour on Virgin Galactic up to the moon with Bitcoin. I think the Winklevoss twins have said that they would do exactly that. Do you think this is a currency that's really going to work eventually?
Well, I think it is working, and there will be other currencies like it that may be even better. But in the meantime, there's a big industry around Bitcoin. And you know, people have made fortunes out of Bitcoin. Some people have lost money out of Bitcoin.
It's volatile. It's volatile.
Yeah, but it is quite volatile. But you know, when in volatility, people can make money out of volatile situations.
Why was it important for you to give it sort of that stamp of approval, that endorsement, by saying to the Winklevoss twins, yes, you can pay for the ride with Bitcoin?
Because I'm not foolish. I mean, if people have got lots of Bitcoins and they want to go to space, I'd much rather they spent that money on our spaceship.
So what did you think? Two huge global business players talking positive about Bitcoin. I'm hoping it stirs you to do some research. Here's a good explanation on what a Bitcoin is.
So what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a revolutionary technology that enables a new way to send payments over the internet. You can think of it as an open accounting system where thousands of computers all over the world work together to track ownership of digital tokens called Bitcoins. When you send someone Bitcoins, the transaction is broadcast to the entire network. After it's verified, it's recorded in a public ledger called the blockchain. The blockchain contains a record of every Bitcoin transaction that has occurred since the system began, and it's shared and maintained on the network, so everyone keeps the books, so to speak. Most currencies are issued by a central authority that controls the money supply. Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer system, so there is no central authority. Instead, Bitcoins are issued to users who help process transactions in the network. This is known as Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin miners are specialized computers that do the work required to verify and record transactions in the blockchain. As a reward for their work, the miners earn Bitcoins, and this is how new Bitcoins are released into circulation. The system is programmed so that only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist, and as time goes by, the mining reward decreases. The result is a predictable supply that's governed by scarcity, making Bitcoin somewhat like a digital gold. It's the first currency of the internet, and everyone is free to use it. With Bitcoin, you can send any amount of money to anyone, anywhere in the world, as easily as sending an email.
Hopefully that sheds some light on what a Bitcoin is. Let's see what John McAfee and Max Kaiser have to say about the future of Bitcoins and other cryptocurrencies and where they're going.
Many people see growth like this and want to compare it to a fiat currency, wondering when the bubble might burst. Cybersecurity expert John McAfee says this type of thinking is a mistake. He joins me now. John, why do you think the word bubble cannot be applied to Bitcoin?
Well, first and foremost, Bitcoin is not a fiat currency. It costs over $1,000 to create a Bitcoin today in electricity and computing costs. Second, the value of Bitcoin is linked to the number of users and the number of transactions. It is not a speculative investment, even though it is being used as such by many people. As the Bitcoin network grows, the value of Bitcoin grows. As people move into Bitcoin for payments and receipts, they stop using US dollars, euros, Chinese yuan, which in the long term devalues these currencies. So what you're seeing is more of a currency devaluation than a bubble in Bitcoin. As more people use it, it has more intrinsic value. And again, the cost of producing a Bitcoin increases with the value of the Bitcoin. So this is not something that we're pulling out of thin air. This is something that's created with massive amounts of electricity and computing power.
Now, Bitcoin and blockchain go hand in hand, but blockchain's ability to track financial transactions in a way that is incorruptible, it gives it infinite amount of uses outside of the original purpose of using it for Bitcoin. Do you see blockchains overtaking certain aspects of the financial system as we know it now?
It will take over all aspects. People think that Bitcoin or the blockchain is owned by someone, by a company or by a consortium. No, this is strictly a mathematical formula that nobody owns, that we are all participating in. And we use the blockchain for everything from fixing supply chain problems in corporations to verifying the authenticity of the sender and receiver in a financial transaction. It is the most powerful technology that the world has seen, I believe, since the invention of agriculture.
Now, John, we've showed our viewers Bitcoin's rise just in the past month, and we can show it to them again if it's up there. But on July 17th, 1 month ago, you tweeted that Bitcoin's low of 1,800 yesterday simply could not be maintained. In the long term, Bitcoin moves above 500,000 within 3 years. Bets, you ask? So I ask you, John, do you stand by your statement?
Well, keep in mind, as Bitcoin grows and grows in value, other currencies, national currencies, are going to decline. So the advantage to using Bitcoin, the advantages are huge. If I do a wire transfer, it'll take me 24 hours. If I do a Bitcoin transfer, it takes me 30 seconds. It is instantaneous. I know people who do not use any other currency now other than Bitcoin. They buy their houses, their cars, everything using Bitcoin by connecting to other users who sell the things that they need. As more and more people use this, what will happen to national currencies? They will obviously devalue. They have to. So that 500,000 includes a massive devaluation in the US dollar, which absolutely has to come if Bitcoin continues to grow at its current rate.
Well, it's certainly a community effort, and the Bitcoin community and for other cryptocurrencies, it's only growing. John McAfee, founder of McAfee Incorporated, thank you so much for your thoughts today.
Rick Falkvenia does an excellent analysis. He predicts that Bitcoin will capture between 1 and 10% of the global Forex market, which implies a price of between $100,000 to $1 million per Bitcoin.
Speaking of the price rising, this is in the next headline here from a hedge funder. Fortress's Novogratz says Bitcoin will be, quote, worth a lot. And this is Michael Novogratz. He's the chief investment officer for Fortress Investment Group, which is a $55 billion hedge fund. And he says, put a little money in Bitcoin, come back in a few years, and it's going to be worth a lot.
Fortress gentleman mentions he's a hedge fund and a private equity fund manager, and he understands that Bitcoin is now an asset class. Stocks, bonds, gold, silver, real estate, Bitcoin. It is an asset class. So every single one of those 10,000 hedge funds in the world who control trillions of dollars will need exposure to Bitcoin if they want to remain competitive. That's the bottom line. So these hedge funds will start nibbling into Bitcoin, and of course Barry Silbert's Second Market in New York has the Bitcoin Investment Trust, or BIT, that makes it easier for them to buy into Bitcoin. They will start outperforming their peers, and then their peers will have to get into Bitcoin as an asset class, and that's when you'll see them move into 5 and 6 digits.
Hopefully the information in the video has sparked some interest for you to go out and do some research, find out what's really going on, as there is something big going on in the cryptocurrency world. So how do you get involved and maybe buy a Bitcoin if you're interested? There's many companies on the internet that offer these services, brokers, etc. But there's 2 companies in particular I'd like to highlight. One is Bitstamp.net, which I have personally used. They're a fully licensed exchange in Europe. You can start trading instantly with credit cards or debit cards, or you can, like I do, wire transfer. And the other company is called Coinbase.com. They're based in the US. You could also use credit card and debit card. So I'd just pay particular attention to these 2 companies if you're so interested. In the future on this channel there will be other videos on how to set up an account at these brokers, at Bitstamp or Coinbase, more detailed, and where to store your Bitcoin once you've bought it from these exchanges. I hope you enjoyed this video.